Hello and welcome. Tonight, we have a terrifying ghost story as we learn that sometimes things really do come back to haunt you. As always, these stories are written exclusively for this channel. So, if you would like to support these creative efforts, please hit that like button and subscribe. Let's get into it. Carol and I head back into our house, straining under the load from our haul at the thrift shop. I collapse onto one of our wooden dining chairs and release my bags of jeans, puzzles, and other stuff onto the floor. Carol does the same in another chair. As Carol releases her reusable canvas bag, a square, faded wooden box slides out of it onto the tiles. I pause. You didn't. I thought you put that back, I say to Carol. She blushes and presses her chin to her chest. Come on, Sarah. It'll be fun. She picks it up off the ground and turns it over. Look how old this thing is. It's like it saw the Salem witch trials. She laughs and runs her fingers over the dark carved-in letters and symbols. I lean forward and follow her fingers as they continue towards an intricately carved woman. It's beautiful, in a ghostly way. Well made. Could almost be a decoration, I say as I remove my fingers from the wood and lift my bag from the floor. I haven't used a ouija board since I was like 13. That one was made of cardboard. But yeah, you want to do the ouija board tonight? I knew you would, Gabe. Carol snickers. Later that night, Carol and I sit on the floor in our yoga pants and sweatshirts on either side of our coffee table. A fire crackles in the hearth, and we both take a sip of wine before we begin. Okay, Carol states. So it didn't come with instructions, but I know the basics. We both have to put our hands on this piece. Carol holds up a palm-sized wooden item and sets it down on the board. I giggle and delicately put my fingertips on the small wooden piece, as Carol does the same. You're moving it, Carol declares, and presses her fingers more firmly on the thing to stop it. Yeah, I was trying to spell hi, I answer, rolling my eyes. Don't you communicate through the board? Well, yeah, you talk through the board, but honestly, Sarah, have you never watched a scary movie? You ask your questions out loud. Don't you think it would be tedious to spell everything? And who are you talking to with your hi? Do you already see a ghost? You know what? I'm going to lead us, and don't deliberately move the planchette again. Jeez. The planchette now. Sorry, Miss Fancy Pants, I answer, waving my hands in the air. Put your fingers back, Sarah hisses. I'm going to start now. She adjusts her seat, takes a sip of wine, and clears her throat. At last, she begins. Is there anyone here who wishes to communicate with us? Sarah glances around the living room, like a ghost might pop up anywhere. I follow suit and check our surroundings, but the room remains the same. At that moment, I hear a series of dings, and I jump, then laugh at my overreaction. Oh, that was just the popcorn. Let me go get it, I say. Perfect, I have to go to the bathroom, Carol answers and heads off. When we got back, Carol stares at the board as tendons stand out on her neck. I set the popcorn bowl down on the table and crouch next to her. Hey, what's going on? She points a finger. I just remembered. We're not supposed to leave the planchette on the table. It's bad luck. We can't allow anyone to enter through the portal we opened. Now it's over the word yes, she says. I hug her and kiss her cheek. Honey, I don't think we opened a portal. Maybe one of us bumped it when we got up. Ouija board isn't a game. The planchette was still in the middle when you got up. I'm pretty sure I didn't bump it. She answers and checks behind her shoulder. It's made me check too, but there's nothing there. Well, do you want to stop playing? I ask, and it's like someone placed a cold hand on the back of my neck. And I shiver. I already told you it's not a game, Carol says again, but more to herself than to me. Let's keep going though, she continues. I go back to my side of the coffee table and place my fingers on the planchette. Carol does the same, then stares at me across the board as we move it away from the yes response and back to the center. Carol gives me a tight smile and then asks, "Is there someone here who wishes to communicate with us?" With our fingers barely touching the surface of the planchette, it slides back towards the yes. I pull back, but Carol says, "Don't take your fingers off of it. You're not moving it, right?" "No," I whisper. "You're not?" Carol takes a deep breath and blows it out in a gust. She purses her lips together, looks me in the eye, and shakes her head. "I didn't move it." And to herself she mutters, "What do I ask now?" She pauses, chewing the inside of her cheek. Finally, she half shrugs and asks, "Are you dead?" The planchette moves towards the yes again. I pull my head back, shocked, but still suspicious. What if the way we're sitting is causing it to just go towards the yes? I'm going to ask a question that's not yes or no. I tell Carol. Then I bite my lip, trying to come up with a good question. At last I blurt out, "How did you die?" "You're not supposed to ask that," Carol snaps. "When did you become the Ouija board expert?" "Shh," Carol says. "It's moving." The planchette drifted toward the A, then the S, and finally the K. "Ask," says Carol. It continues toward the C, the A, R, O, and just as it was headed toward the L, Carol shouts, "No!" She pushes the planchette and the Ouija board away, spilling both of our glasses of wine in the process. Carol continues to repeat, "No, no, that's impossible," practically to herself. "Carol," I say, leaping to my feet. I go to her side and put my arms around her. You're trembling. Carol licks her lips, grabs one of the fallen glasses of wine, and chugs the remainder. A book, The Secret Garden, falls from our mantel into the fire. The paper cover blackens, and the pages curl as it burns. "It's really you," Carol whispers, facing the flames as her shaking increases. Finally, Carol turns to speak to me and swallows before she begins. "When I was a kid, maybe 8 or 9, I had a friend named Oscar. He and I played around in the woods pretty much every day. After school and on the weekends, we liked to pretend we were the kids in the secret garden, tending flowers and a couple of herbs, even though our garden was neither secret nor gated." Carol makes quotes with her fingers when she says garden, and a half smile appears on her face, which fades away as she says the next line. "Near our house was a river which had a chain-link fence blocking it off, but limbs from a tree hung over the water. And that river wasn't some little stream. It flowed quickly. Oscar and I would climb that tree all the time, and sometimes go out onto the limb that went over the water to enjoy the view. One day, I dared Oscar to climb farther out than usual onto the limb, even though I knew it was dangerous. I knew it was too thin. But I wanted to see if he'd listen to me. Really do it. I liked to boss him around. Anyway, he did it. He climbed out, and the limb broke. He fell into the water, but I shut my eyes before he hit. I never saw him again. No one did. His body was presumably lost in the river." Her brows knitted as tears slid down her face. She wiped her eyes and looked into mine. "I never told anyone what happened. I didn't want to get in trouble. His parents didn't know where he went. By the time I realized it was wrong to keep that secret. It felt like too much time had passed to tell them, so they never knew. I pull Carol into a hug as she cries. When I release her and sit back, I see strands of Carol's hair rise high into the air behind her. They float there momentarily, and I just watch. Then some force yanks them, causing Carol's head to snap back. She falls, and I hear her head hit the floor. She screams, and I scramble to my feet to help her. When I notice, in the spilled wine next to her leg, is a child-sized footprint. We have to get out of here, I yelled at Carol as I take one of her arms and drag her to her feet. Once standing, we head towards the front door, beyond which is the car. I unlock the door and try pulling it open, but it was like it wasn't even a door, like it was part of the wall and never had the ability to open. Behind me, Carol screams again, and I turn around. Sticking out of her neck is a knife blade. I press my back to the door and stare as the blade comes out of her neck. Then, the coldest fingers I have ever felt tug my hand away from the doorknob and forcibly wrap each of my fingers around the end of the knife as Carol's body goes still on the floor. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, if you enjoyed tonight's story, please hit that like button and subscribe. If you would like more ghost stories, why not check out the one on the screen now? This one involves a haunted house with a dangerous past.